Welcome into our McPherson College Coaches Show, our first one of the new year as we get ready for the Bulldogs here in 2020. The new decade gets underway today as well. I'm Jim Joyner, and hey, Steve Sell back in another decade of covering Bulldog athletics.
Yeah, it's been almost a month since we've been here. Of course, the kids were out of school for first semester ended. Now the interterm has started and second semester, and we're glad to be back.
Well, fortunately, not a lot of things have happened. We don't have a lot to update you on. That's the great thing about college athletics. Is when everybody goes home, it's hard to have a lot of games.
That's right.
So the Bulldog basketball teams, I think, since we've been gone, they went down to Arizona. The men did, and they won a couple of games there. But since that, they've come back. They've split a couple of KCAC doubleheaders. The indoor track and field season is just about to really get rolling here in the month of January, and we'll hear from Coach Alexander. But a lot going on for Bulldog athletics, kind of starting this week and into the next week.
Yeah, especially on the basketball side. Huge game for the MAC men, riding a 4-game winning streak. They go to Ottawa, which is number 10 in the country. They're like 16-1 overall. They've only lost one game in the conference. They're leading the conference. This is a chance for the Bulldogs. If they could somehow win this one, this would be a statement game for them because they've already picked up some nice road wins. I thought the York and St. Mary wins were terrific. And then, of course, last night, big win at Avila, tough place to play.
Well, let's start off our McPherson College Coaches Show with women's basketball coach Josh Nichols. Joining us now to start our McPherson College Coaches Show is Josh Nichols, women's basketball coach for the Bulldogs, and they have started off the new year going 0-2 in the KCAC, now 5-6 on the year in the conference. They lost to Kansas Wesleyan 75-58 on Saturday, lose 69-57 at Avila last night, and you ended the first semester on a high note with a win down at Bethel, and then I know you wanted to get a little more positive momentum going to start this semester, but unfortunately a couple of losses. What's been the biggest key in those losses for you guys so far to start?
The biggest key is this lack of rhythm. We had 3 weeks between games, 2 weeks between practice. When we come back, then we're injured and we're sick, and we've only practiced full strength twice since we've been back. So just getting that rhythm back has been it's going to be key for us. We're just not where we need to be. With that rotation, things like that. Brittany Jarvis missed the Kansas Wesleyan game for an injury. So it just throws some couple things off a little bit, and we just haven't found that rhythm back yet.
And another thing is you've played two of the very best teams in the conference coming back. Kansas Wesleyan right now looking like the top challenger to Sterling. Avila has been a real surprise. I think there's something like 7-3 or 8-3 in the conference, and they've got a lot of experience. One thing, they've got 3 players who have been around a long time. So the competition also has something to do with it. And now you finish the first half of the conference on Saturday, the 12th game against Ottawa, a team below you in the standings. Obviously, getting back to 500 in conference play for the first round is very important.
Yeah, it definitely is. Get where we want to be. I mean, first half of the conference, we feel like we let a couple slide by, and we shouldn't be in the position we're in, but we're in it anyway. So, we want to get that back to 500 in the conference and make sure that we don't be 500 in our overall record. So there's still a lot of goals left for us to achieve as well.
Obviously making the playoffs too. I mean, I think, is it still the top 8 or have they've changed it? Top 8. So there's 13 teams in the conference. You're right there on the cut line right now. I think, 500 would probably get you in, but right now you look at the conference, Sterling in the lead, then KW, and then you got some, Bethany's kind of in there and teams like that. But right now it's kind of looks like it's Sterling's and KW, the 2 top teams.
Yeah, both of those. KW handles us pretty well for whatever reason. Showman's got my number, so we'll have to figure out a way to defend them a little bit better. Probably a disadvantage for us is we go on the road to those places second go around. So we rarely get Sterling at home, and then KW got us, and we do have Bethany come into our place, so we feel good about that. But at the same time, we've got to get back to playing the way we're capable of.
Well, you mentioned the word rhythm there at the start, and I think one of the biggest aspects of basketball with rhythm is your shooting and trying to stay into a rhythm. And there were times in that first semester when you would get into a roll and have a couple of big spurts in a quarter or a half where your shooting, especially from 3, would really help you win these games. The last couple nights, the 3-point shooting has not been there for you. So what are some of the things that your team has to do when the three-point shooting is not there that maybe you didn't do these last couple games?
Well, I'd say the biggest thing is we got to defend better. When we're not shooting the ball well, we've just got to defend better. We've got to lock down, and we hit a big three last night to cut it to 7, and then they come down and hit back-to-back threes to go back to 13. And I think it was just simple defensive mistakes that we made, and we've got to do a better job. If you're not scoring, you got to stop them from scoring.
And a key during your surge back in December was your offense came off your defense. And I look at the points off turnovers. I'm sure that's a stat you look at every game. And it doesn't seem like you've gotten quite as many points off turnovers the last couple games.
Yeah, I felt like we haven't been as aggressive in some of our traps and some of our rotations that we should be. And trying to figure out why we're not as aggressive as we need to be is something we got to get figured out too.
One player whose production seems to have gone up offensively in the last couple of games is Danny Holt, where for a couple of times at the beginning of the season and in that first semester, she would sacrifice a little offensively to give you more defensively, but she's had a couple of 10-plus games to start the year, and I think when you get Danny Holt scoring 10, 12, 14 points, it's a really big advantage for your team.
Yeah, she had, I can't remember the exact games, but she had back-to-back 0 for 0, 0 for 0. And, we need her to be able to score for us. And I appreciate all the defense she does and all the rebounding, but, having that extra offensive threat is big for us.
And she's athletic enough to get to the basket. Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. She's athletic enough that she can take the ball off the bounce and get to the hole.
Yeah, it's hard to score when you don't shoot.
Yeah.
Well, as you look ahead, you mentioned Ottawa coming up. That will be the 12th game of your KCAC, and then you get going back into the second sling of things, and you start to go back through the conference again. What do you see as the biggest key for this team going into this full second semester and trying to, again, come out 500 or above and be able to find a way to sneak into that top 8?
Well, the first key is for us to shoot the ball better. We got to have a better overall field goal percentage. We got to shoot the three better. I've been really kind of disappointed in our three-point shooting so far this year. We've got to get that back to where we're capable of. And then, we got to defend a little bit better. Get back to what we were doing early on in the season. We just haven't done that so far in the first 2 games of the new year.
Well, you get a fun trip back to Ottawa. You go back to the east side of the state on Saturday.
That seems like a strange schedule. They'd have you go to Avila and then turn around and go to Ottawa. That just seems very odd to me.
There's a lot of strange things about our schedule.
Well, we saw that Bob Huggins got fined like $10,000 for speaking out about the refs. So we're going to make sure you don't speak out against the KCAC commissioner. We'll make sure that we save all that money for you. Because you need it. We don't want to burn a hole in your pocketbook.
No.
But fun trip coming up Saturday. Hopefully a chance to get back to 6-6, and then you start the whole dang thing over again next week. Continuing on our McPherson College Coaches Show, now joined by Bulldog men's basketball coach T.J. Eskildson. It's been a great start to the new year for the Bulldogs. They ended the first semester on a high, going down to Arizona, winning a couple of games. They come back, they beat Kansas Wesleyan here at home and make it rain from 3. They then go on the road last night to Avila and pick up a 4-point win, 88-84. And I don't know what you wish for Christmas or if the big man in the red suit came down the chimney for you, but I think if you were wishing for something, it would have been this start to the 2020 part of the season.
Yeah, no doubt. Our guys have really been focused since they've come back from break. I think a big part of that too is we had a really good trip down to Arizona right before Christmas. Got 2 good wins down there, and I always think those trips, when you're together we were together for 5 days down there, I think it's always good to kind of for team building and just you're just around each other all day, every day, and at night. And I think that our guys are really, really bought in on what we're trying to do and bought in on each other and are playing for each other. And I think that's what you need if you want to be successful.
And then you come back after your trip to Arizona, your first game of 2020, a very good Kansas Wesleyan team comes to town. Jim and I were in Kansas City doing high school, so we didn't get to see it, but we were following it. Yeah. And God, you were up like 4. You're up 17 at half on KW, and you never let them, get back where it was, a competitive game. But what a way to start the second semester. 13 of 30 from 3. You were really good. I think you only missed 1 free throw the whole game, and that was a KW team that had really been playing well lately.
Yeah. We did a great job on the defensive end against them too. We took James Brooks as a really good player for them, and I thought we did a good job. Forced him to take contested shots. Had Trevon Shelvin on the offensive end. I kind of going into the year, I kind of felt like our point guard position was kind of where we were really, really good. And obviously Trevon's kind of been our third string point guard. He comes in, and I think he had 27 points at 7 threes. I think that just shows the depth that we have at that position, and he kind of gives us a different look there.
And you gave him a start, which was, you were really rolling, and to take it, to put him in as a starter, and what a way to respond. 7-11 from 3, 27 points, just lit it up.
Yep, he had a really good game. Made a couple big shots late when K-Dub started to make a little push, and that's exciting when you just got different guys stepping up every night. That's an exciting thing to have, and I feel like we have guys who can step up, and we've got good depth, and we've got guys that can do that.
And another big thing since we've talked to you, Cameron Jenkins, we've been saying all year, the guy can flat out shoot. Yep. He kind of struggled through much of November. You go to Arizona, maybe it was the Arizona Air or something. Yeah. He scores like 45 points in 2 games out in Arizona. Yeah. Last night off the bench, played 19 minutes, 23 points. Yep. What a luxury to have a guy like Cameron Jenkins that can just provide instant offense.
Yeah, he down in Arizona, he got going. He had in the Benedictine game, the first game we played, I think he hit 6 threes in about a 4-minute span down there. Last night he got to the rim really well early in the game. Then he hit a couple threes late. But Cameron can really score the ball, and it's exciting to see him finally. I know he had been kind of frustrated just with the ball just not going through the net for him, and now I think he's starting to build that confidence. And if he can continue to do that the rest of the way, that's definitely going to be a huge plus for us.
The other thing that I thought was really nice with the Avila game last night for your team is that it was another game, you're on the road, you let this Avila team hang around for a little bit, but you were able to finish strong last night. And I saw 26 out of 30 at the free throw line, and I was following along. You were able to really get a couple of big stops defensively down the stretch when you needed them, seal the game at the free throw line. And I think going back to last year and the couple of years before, there were some times where a game like that, when you're on the road against a team that can score, you never know that the game is officially over yet. No. But I thought your team did a really good job of putting that game away last night.
Yeah, I agree. I was so proud of our guys last night. It was Avila. That's a tough place to play. And last night there really weren't many people at the gym. They're not back in class yet, so there wasn't a whole lot of an environment in there. They made a nice push early in the second half, and I thought
got up 10.
They got up 10. I think they were up 10 with about 14 minutes to go, and I called a timeout, and I really just kind of challenged our guys to how good do you guys want to be, how competitive. If you want to be competing towards the top of the league, you need to battle through this. This is the type of game you need to win, and they really responded. I mean, we had guys. Grant Munson came off the bench, and he didn't score, but he made some huge hustle plays that kind of ignited our energy level a little bit, and then obviously Dorian Page made some huge plays for us offensively, and then he did a great job on Shandon Boone there in the second half. Shandon Boone only attempted 7 shots last night, and I thought that was huge. I mean, he's as talented as anybody in our league.
He's averaging 22 points a game coming in.
Yeah, I mean they had come off they beat Rockhurst right before Christmas, and Rockhurst is like 7-4 in Division II. I mean Avila's got some guys, and Shandon Boone's really talented, and I was really pleased with our guys, just their toughness, and we talk about toughness a lot, and they really showed that.
And the nice thing about these 2 wins, the KW win, they were ahead of you in the standings.
Yep.
You caught them. Yep. Avila was right behind you, so you've put some distance.
Yep.
They're 2 games behind you now because you're kind of, you're starting to jockey. You're getting in that. I know there's a long way to go, but you're jockeying that position. I think you've moved up to like 4th place or 5th place.
Yep.
Remember the top 8 make it, but with the KCAC teams it's such a long season. There's peaks and valleys right now. You're on a peak, and hopefully can keep it going. Saturday, the ultimate challenge. You're going to find out how really you go to the concrete jungle up at Ottawa, an incredibly tough place to play, Wilson Fieldhouse. Ottawa, I believe, is 16-1 overall. They're leading the conference. Got a big win last night. What's made Ottawa so good this year?
Yeah, they're number 10 in the country right now. Only lost one game. They're just playing really well together. I mean, if you look at them statistically, they're all shooting between 45 and 55%. They shoot the three really well. They've got over 100 more assists than they do turnovers. They are a very, very good team.
And they lost a lot from last year too.
They did.
They lost.
I honestly don't even know if they're as talented as they were last year.
Yeah, they lost Isaiah Palmer, one of the best players. They lost Tasmania, Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
He was always an interesting player for them, very high energy guy. But they lost some very talented players.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they had a ton of talent last year, and they were good last year. But they just as a team, I think as a team, they know what their roles are. They don't turn the ball over. They shoot the ball really well. They're very good. So it's going to be a huge challenge for us.
Try to keep the crowd out of the game early.
Exactly,
That's what you
and
gotta do.
that's when they get going in there. The crowd gets into it. You can't hear anything in that
Right.
gym.
Oh, I've covered some games up there, and I left that gym with my ears just ringing.
Yep.
It was just so loud in there.
Yeah, but I think our guys are excited for the opportunity, and we'll see how we perform, and it's a big opportunity for our guys, and I think they'll be ready for it.
And remember last year, the game at Ottawa, you guys were up 25 points in the second half and couldn't win, and then you came here, and did it go to overtime?
We were up 20 in the second half of that game as well. Went to overtime.
Two games where you should have beat this maybe not as good as they were last year Ottawa team. Yeah. So I think you guys have to have a lot of confidence going into this weekend too.
Yeah, I mean I think that our guys are playing with confidence. So we'll see what we can do, and it's a great opportunity for our guys, and if we can compete at a high level, I think we can play with them.
We're now joined on our McPherson College Coaches Show by JT Alexander, the McPherson College track and field coach, as we are into the indoor track and field season. And Coach Alexander, I wanted to get a little update. I know that you guys have competed once. You were at Northwest Missouri State in December and then getting ready for a really busy start to January and February. But what all has been going on with the indoor track team? I know it's kind of been an outdoor track team the last few days because the weather's been good, but I wanted to get a little update on what you guys have been up to.
So, yeah, we started at Northwest beginning of December, and that was kind of just see where we are, kind of meet and figure out exactly what we need to be working on for over the next couple weeks. We actually had about a 6-week gap between that meet and our next meet, which gave us a really good opportunity to kind of figure out exactly what we need to be working on and kind of where we are and what our strengths and weaknesses. But that first meet went really well. I think we're in a really good place, and excited to get started here, not this weekend, but next weekend is our first meet of the 2020 season, and basically it goes every weekend from here on out. So,
what attracted you to McPherson College? The program has really been outstanding in recent years. Is that what kind of attracted you, or had you known about McPherson College's track and field program? Because they've sent a lot of kids to nationals, even had a national champion when Art Hop in the pole vault. But it's been a program that's been very high profile in recent years. Yeah,
and I spent the last 3 years in the KCAC, and so I was very aware of what McPherson had been doing and the success that they've had, and that definitely was a big part of wanting to be a part of this and knowing the tradition, the success that has been here, and it's a great group, and I was excited to be a part of it, and it's great being able to go out there every day with these guys.
What are the numbers looking like for your team so far here in the winter season? I know it's very similar to what it will be outdoor season as well, but what are the numbers looking like, and what are the numbers that you would like the rosters to be at?
We're probably a little thin in the jumps area. I would say that's probably our biggest area that we just don't have quite the depth that we do in some of the other areas. So that's going to be a big thing as we move forward. In the recruiting process is trying to fill those holes. But we probably are around 50 or so, and I think that we'd like to push that between that 60 and 70 by next year. And we're going to be losing some pretty good seniors, so making sure that we fill those gaps as well.
One area that's been strong for the Bulldogs for the past several years is the sprints. You've really been strong in the sprints and relays. Is that a strength again this year?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's again, we have a lot of the upperclassmen in those areas. Same with the throws, and I think that's going to be kind of what carries us going forward again this year. And I think we're going to try and continue to build off that as we go forward. So,
What are some of the main differences between the indoor and outdoor seasons? I mean, obviously one of them is indoor and one of them is outdoor, but what are some of the differences in terms of mentality or the amount of competitions that you have? What are some of the differences?
We actually are kind of lucky in this area to have pretty good competition and access to some of the indoor facilities that we do in the state or nearby. But I would say there's the travel probably is going to change quite a bit. We stay pretty regional indoors, but we're going to have some opportunities to go down to Texas, and we're going to go to the Drake Relays in Iowa in April and do some different things and kind of give the kids really kind of cool experiences this year and be able to compete at some meets that kind of meet their competition level.
Who are a couple of kids who are really going to be standouts and possibly could qualify for the indoor nationals?
Well, we've had a couple so far. Amy Brainbridge, she qualified on that first meet. Travion Collins, he's a freshman. He qualified in the first meet. I think we're going to have some relays this year, both on the men's and women's side. I think we've got a shot with both 4x4s, 4x8 on the men's side. I think we'll have some probably individuals in the throws as well. With Dylan Templeman, I mean, he was an All-American last year in the disc. Those are some big ones that I think we can kind of expect going forward. And I think we have a young group that is going to push for that. Some young people that haven't. They've only had one meet, in their college career. So, but I think there's going to be some bright stars in there as well.
You mentioned Amy Brainbridge, and she is a talent that you just don't see very often at this level. You got to feel very fortunate to have a performer like her on your team.
Yeah, she's great, and she's a great leader. She's a super hard worker. She always goes out there and does everything you ask. Really sets a good example for the rest. This is what it looks like to get to this level. This is what it takes to be this good. And she goes out there and does it every day.
Yeah, because she could be Division I. She's a Division I NCAA talent. She runs just incredible times in the 400, and I think she's been on some relays too. So she's a big time performer.
Yep. She's excellent, and like I said, she does everything she's supposed to be doing, both on and off the track. And you couldn't ask for somebody better to kind of be a role model for your team.
I think maybe the average person that would be listening would think, okay, well, the outdoor season's the real big season. Is there a difference in terms of mentality and how you prepare for championships in an indoor season or an outdoor season? Is it something that you guys talk about, or is that emphasis still there to win an indoor KCAC championship, qualify for indoor nationals? Is it still the same amount of emphasis?
Yes and no. It's an opportunity, for where you are and where you are in the training process to go out there and compete and do your best. You don't have to deal with some of the other variables like weather and things like that, which is kind of nice. I wouldn't say that the ultimate goal is going to be your outdoor nationals. I mean, I think that's how most are going to set that up. You still have your peaks and things like that, so you're going to try and do your best, and obviously you're going to go out there and try and win KCAC. You're going to go out there and try and get your All-Americans and do that kind of stuff. But I would say that your outdoor nationals is going to be the ultimate of goals for your season.
Well, it's a really busy schedule coming up. You'll be down at Pitt State, another great indoor track and field facility on the 18th. Back to Northwest Missouri State on the 25th. You'll be at Concordia, which I know is a great indoor track facility, on the 30th. So really big month coming up, and then indoor nationals, and then indoor KCAC coming up at the end of February, beginning of March. Coach Alexander, best of luck and stay warm.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. Yep.
We wrap up our McPherson College Coaches Show. Steve Sell, it's kind of good to get back into the swing of things.
Sure is. Good to see the coach. We haven't seen the coaches in a month either. So
that's right. I think they really missed you.
Well, Coach Nichols didn't call me Old Man Winter today.
Well, that's a good start because it's a little warmer outside.
Yeah.
So the Bulldog basketball teams will be on the road at Ottawa this weekend, and then we finally get to come back with a couple of home games against the Bethany College Swedes coming up next Wednesday, and I know that everybody is excited for that inter-county matchup.
Yeah, and the Swedes, both Swede teams are, the men were 1-8 in the KCAC at one point, and now they're starting to get it together, and then the Bethany women have really been on a streak. They won at Tabor last night.
Old Man Winter.
Do we need to make an edit?
Coach Nichols asked if we need to make an edit because
No.
he didn't call Steve Old Man
Well,
Winter or any other
I
names.
appreciated that.
He
so.
could come up with something.
He will. Trust me.
Scrooge.
Yeah.
we're beyond the Christmas season, so
Yeah.
I guess we won't say that anymore.
Yeah.
But Steve, good to be back.
Good to be back.
Wrapping up our McPherson College Coaches Show for Steve Sell, I'm Jim Joyner. Thanks for listening here on 96.7 FM, KBBE.